Hi, and welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I am a food truck business coach and author of Food Truck 101, Beginner to Winner. This podcast is all about helping you start and grow your food truck business. Today, I'm going to talk about having the right puzzle but the wrong piece. And what I mean by that is when people are attempting to learn something, the learner needs to hear and see consistent explanations of the process. That allows them to grasp the concept. So if the concept is explained with logical reasoning, the learner then understood the most important part of the puzzle, and that's the why. We all know the story about giving a man a fish or teaching a man how to fish. One feeds him for a day, the other feeds him for a lifetime. The hungry soul knows why learning to fish is important for his survival, so he's more likely to want to learn how to fish. So imagine how confused he would be if some bunch of different people came up and tried to teach him how to fish, and you have one dude saying, hey, use a cane pole, it's the best. And then another dude says, no, use a net, that's the best way. And then somebody else says, they neither one know what they're talking about. It's use night crawlers. You'll catch all kinds of fish with that. And then somebody else says, no, just grab some old hard cheese out of the refrigerator. And that's the best way to catch fish. And then somebody else chimes in something different. The poor person doesn't know what to do, so he ends up starving from confusion because no one has said, let's do one way. It's the same way when I teach any concept. I explain, and sometimes I over-explain the process along the way, and I explain the why behind the process. I can assure you anything that I teach is based on three things. It's based on logic, it's based on experience, and it's based on expertise. I don't just say, do it this way because everyone else does it this way. I do it the way that makes sense. A prime example of that is how I teach people to do a business plan. I don't set some lofty sales goal and then try to make all the numbers under it work. I start from the ground up. I build a sales plan we're going to talk about what it takes per hour, number of guests, the number of dollars per hour, and build up from there. We'll build up to the annual sales projection. The very first time I did a business plan, this was way back in the early 80s, I was sitting in a car with solar-powered calculators, a farmer's almanac, a handful of newspapers, some accounting forms, and a bunch of pencils and erasers. I was back then an assistant manager and was learning how to do a business plan. That was the goal. The manager that was teaching me how to do this, let's just say she wasn't the brightest candle in the chandelier. I was 22 and she was absolutely clueless on what to do. But we had a deadline. We were sitting in a car because the restaurant that we were working out of was being remodeled, and there was people cutting wood and hammering and nails and screwing things together and making all kinds of noise. So we thought it would be better to sit out into the car and do the work. Well, while we're sitting in the car, it starts a thunderstorm. So now there's no sun for the solar-powered calculators. And I ended up actually doing a whole bunch of math on a piece of paper with a pencil. But that plan ended up winning awards from the company for being the most accurate plan of the year, which isn't a big deal when you think about what I just said. The most accurate plan of the year, since that's a comparative statistic. I could have been off $1 million and been the closest one to my plan, but I wasn't off $1 million. I was off $1,000 on sales of $600,000. That's less than 1.6% on an annual budget being off. That plan, the one I wrote, was the only plan in the whole company that didn't get revised at the 6-month mark. So my plan was for 12 months with no revisions and hit at the end of the 12 months the sales goal that we had established. No other store in the company had done that. And they got to revise theirs at 6 months and couldn't get it closer than I was. The president of the company was so impressed, and the CEO of the company too, was so impressed they asked me to teach a class for all the rest of our company on how to do what I had done. So there I am, an assistant manager, 22 years old, teaching people that were significantly older than me and had worked for the company a lot longer than I had how to do a business plan. The managers that paid attention in that seminar that I put on, they wrote better plans. One district manager made her entire district follow what I'd explained to do in those classes. That entire district ended up being off $10,000 on sales of $3 million. That was by far the closest district performance that particular year. Even the district I was from wasn't that close, because some of the managers didn't take what I explained to them seriously. They didn't believe the math and the reasoning behind what I was showing them. So you can rest assured when I tell you food costs should be 25% or less, I say that from experience. I'm not being contrary. I'm not trying to be something different from somebody else. I'm telling you that because it works. Anybody that still buys into the 3 times cost nonsense is spouting off 35-year-old procedures from way back when minimum wage was $3.35. So do you really think that you can afford to have a 33% food cost based on whatever wages you're going to be paying? These people that spout off this 3 times cost nonsense don't understand math, and they're probably wanting to hurt you since technically you're the competition. 3 times cost is taking away 8 percentage points in profit. So do you really think they're trying to help you when they say 3 times cost is the way to go? If you guys are enjoying the podcast, please consider hitting the support button or follow the links in the description and offering any support that you can. Every little bit does help, and we appreciate everything. If you guys love being around like-minded, supportive, positive people, check out our Facebook group. It's called Food Truck Training. There you're going to find a ton of information and inspiration from the awesome membership. Thank you guys so much for listening. I certainly hope you're finding all the information useful in your food truck business. Y'all have a great day. Come back next week and I'll have a whole nother series of topics.